waiting for?
The assessor.
Ah,
He got in traffic, he said it was about running about 5 minutes behind.
I think it's kind of important that he be
That
here.
should be here, yeah. Well, we can go live and start and get the housekeeping stuff done, and then we can just adjourn for a minute if we're waiting.
All right, it's the appointed hour. Should we begin? The Town of Ocean View Board of Assessment meeting is officially open. Stand and pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Okay. Time out while we change batteries. And then our esteemed counselor has housekeeping things that need to be attended to. We resume.
So, we're gonna take care of a couple of housekeeping matters, and number 2 on the agenda is commission business, swearing in of the board members. The appointed members are Ed Donnelly, Bob Lawless, and Bill Olson. Gentlemen, I am gonna swear you in. I'm gonna ask you to repeat after me. After I say I, you're gonna say your name, and then you'll repeat after me for the remainder of the oath. I
Ed Bob Lawless,
William Olson,
do proudly swear
do proudly swear
proudly swear
to carry out the responsibilities
to carry out the responsibilities
of the member of the office of
of the office of
member of Board of Assessment
member of Board of Assessment
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
freely acknowledging that the powers of this office
freely acknowledging that the powers of this office
flow from the people I am privileged to represent.
flow from the people I am privileged to represent.
I further swear
I further swear
always to place the public interest
always to place the public interest
above any special or personal interests,
above any special or personal interest,
and to respect the right of future generations
and to respect the right of future generations
to share the rich historic and natural heritage
to share the rich historic and natural heritage
of Delaware.
of Delaware.
In doing so,
In doing so,
I will always uphold and defend
I will always uphold and defend
the Constitution of my country and my state.
the Constitution of my country and my state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Interestingly, very few people have ever read the Delaware Constitution. We are in fact running a class on the Delaware Constitution here every Sunday evening,
Oh, excellent.
and reading it line by line and attempting to understand it
Excellent.
You mean here?
here. 6 o'clock every Sunday evening.
Thank you. So at this time, we do need to appoint and affirm our chair. Do we have any motions on that?
I'm going to nominate Bob as chair.
I second.
Okay, so for the record, Mr. Lawless was nominated as chair by Ed Donnelly and seconded by Bill Olson. All in favor?
Aye.
And Mr. Lawless, we're assuming you accept the position
Aye.
of chair?
I will. The power and prestige is just enormous. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We want to hold up the meeting for a brief time while the assessor arrives. I understand that he has been held up in traffic and is on his way and should be here shortly.
Yes.
Any newer information?
No, I expect him any minute.
Okay, anyone object to pausing the proceedings? Okay, so ruled. Madam Solicitor, any words of wisdom that you can offer us as the Board of Assessment that we ought to be keeping in mind as we proceed?
Well, gentlemen, are we still on the record? Yeah, okay. You know your job is to ascertain whether the assessment is fair and just, based upon the facts presented by the contestant and the facts presented by the town assessor.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Can I take care of some administrative matters until Eric gets here?
So, Mr. Walkley, why don't we just adjourn, if you don't mind, we'd like to stay adjourned just for a few moments, just so he can hear everything that's on the record, if you don't object.
Just trying to make things move a little bit smoother and get out of here a little sooner. The sun is out there.
Mr. Walkley, we'll get you out of here just as quickly as is humanly possible.
So while we're waiting for the assessor, Mr. Walkley, I just want to give you a sense of how this meeting is going to be run. When we take up our new business, which is your hearing, we will make reference to your property, and then we're going to give you the opportunity to present your case.
Your mic's over there.
Thank you. Can you hear me? So, Mr. Walkley, will give you the opportunity to present your case before the board. At that time, after you've presented your case, we'll give the assessor the opportunity to present his side and how he reached the assessment, and then we'll give you the opportunity to rebut that after you've heard what the assessor has to say. Okay? And following that, we'll have the board discussion and voting. And then they'll reach their decision. So that's the protocol for the meeting. I believe I see him walking in at this moment. Mr. Piner?
Yes.
Take a seat. So,
Okay.
I need to, after you introduce, do you want to introduce the matter or do you want me to introduce?
You do it.
Okay. All right.
We need to come out of adjournment.
Yes.
We are back in session. Welcome, Mr. Assessor.
Thank you. I apologize for being late.
So moving on to the agenda of new business, before the Board of Assessment today is an appeal for 3 Edisto Court, Sussex County Tax Map Number 134-16.00-1551.00, PDIN number 400.79. The owner of this property is Raymond Walkley and Marilyn Walkley. And before us today to present his case is Raymond Walkley. So Mr. Walkley, will you come forward so I can swear you in? So Mr. Walkley, you're identifying yourself as Raymond Walkley of 3 Edisto Court, Ocean View, Delaware?
I do.
And you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth before the Board of Assessment today?
Say again?
Do you swear to tell the truth before the Board of Assessment today?
I'm sorry, I don't hear you.
Do you swear to tell the truth before the Board of Assessment today?
So help me God.
All right, thank you very much, sir. So, Mr. Walkley,
Which
you're
in this
free to
day and
present
age,
your
we don't know
case.
what God we're talking about, do we?
All right, you're free to proceed, Mr. Walkley.
Do I have to stand here or can I move?
Well,
I have to
they would like you to stand at the podium. You can hand out whatever materials you have, but they would like you to stand at the podium so that we can record
I
your...
have to carry folders because there will be paper. And I can guarantee you that you can put them in a wood stove and they'll burn with no lead. These are empty, but that's it. Video.
Thank you.
Oh, that's where I want to find out about you.
Oh, well, you found out.
Olson? Mr. Donovan?
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Fearless? First of all, as I have the microphone, I want to say that one of the objectives of this is to put Mr. Eric out of business. If we noticed, we had a mayor previously that made a great idea about accepting the county assessments. And as our attorney knows and lives in the town of Lewis, Lewis has also come up with an idea. An agreement is that none of us want to be here on a good sunny day, except maybe Eric.
May I make a comment before we go?
An agreement
further?
number 2. This is an assessment, not an appraisal. Even that, an assessment is based on fact, and it has to have a basis. I can tell you that trying to get the basis for the information is difficult at best. I have printed out the definition. Maryland law, not, because I don't know that. Now, Ms. Parks has pinned out some information, and I want to tell you that I have made 2 errors in the notice of assessment filling out the forms. One is the information provided on the form. I put down information that was the old information. And once we get here, you'll see there is a second page that corrects that. Also on that form, I put down that the first comparable was 4 cents, and it's actually 5. And that has been corrected with, and that was brought to my attention today by
Appeal. So are you substituting this package, Mr. Walkley, for the one you submitted?
Say again.
Are you substituting this package for the one you
Yes.
previously submitted? All right, for the record, we'll note that he's handing out.
We had indicated that I need to bring 6 or 7 copies.
So for the record, we're indicating that Mr. Walkley is handing out the tax assessment appeal form with some documentation that is replacing his initial filing with the Director of Finance. For the record, we're also noting that he has presented a document called Agreement Number 1 and a document called Agreement Number 2.
In this packet, we'll notice that the first page is basically the notice of the new assessment. Now, let me tell you, the $1,600 for the pavers done is nowhere near cost or market value. It costs me, and I worked with the crew, over $10,000 to put those pavers in, which they didn't like that I was there, by the way. And so that we're not addressing at all. It doesn't matter to me. We're talking, peanuts and dollars. So that's a notice of that. The next page is the amended thing with the comparables and the comparable addresses. The next page is the value determination by my analysis of 3 properties. It's highlighted, it says amended comparable, should say home values, 321. I just picked that up last night in my final reading. Next is a picture of our winter quarters with the new paper. Next is the plat of that lot. The next one shows the subject property location and the 3 properties used as comparable. The next one is a grid analysis of the subject property compared against the 3 comparables. As you will notice, my final determination, and a lot of this, since I don't know the ground rules, and I'm not sure that the town of Ocean View has ground rules for their assessment, like an assessment, which I gave you the definition of, has to be based on something that is fact. And it says there, like in Maryland law, it's based on generally market value based back, which it used to be here in Sussex County, was back into the 1970s. So I don't know what the fact is. But I can tell you, these are my opinions of looking at it. And I did that mainly to get some kind of rational thing as to where in the heck the numbers came from. Comparable number 1, when I bought my house for $330,000 in 16, the house comparable number 1 sold like a year later for $340-something. But mine was worth a lot more money. That's what started me looking at the information. But those are my indications of value. $409,000, $415,300, and $420,300. One of the biggest property in Wedgefield is $99,800. If that is a fair value for all the lots, so even the ones like comparable number 1, which has frontage on our pond, that's hard for me to really, if I was doing the work on the appraisal, a real appraisal, I would have to give credit for that. Whereas my property doesn't have that. Comparable number 3 is a big lot compared to mine. No, excuse me, comparable number 2. It's 13,416 square feet. I've got an 8,250 square foot lot. Are the rules of Ocean View that no matter where you go, the value is the same, which is not true, by the way. We will look, finally, at some interesting figures. But you can look at those. Do I think for you to spend a lot of time on it? No, because a lot of this is abstract opinion. You have to make up your own opinion. I provide the information, then you come up with your, then did Ray Walkley make a good decision, or was he full of bull and looking out for himself? Next page, an aerial photograph showing the location of the comparable. Next is a front and rear view of comparable number 1. The next one is a lot for number 1. Now, what's really interesting about the pond in our subdivision, it belongs to Avon Park. When Harold Duke set that place up, he really did a job. The next are pictures of comparables 2 and 3. And as you can see, the value on that, 364,800, 364,300. These are the assessed values. And I forgot to say, the assessed value on comparable number 1 was 412,500. That's putting my house almost $60,000 more. I call this assessment fair share assessment. And what I mean by that is we all need to support our government, but it should be based on some kind of rational reasoning. If you're going to go through and make the rules, all lots are equal, that's fine. But are all half baths equal? Are all full baths equal? Are full baths that are 3 fixtures equal? Are all full baths with 4 fixtures equal? Are all screen porches equal? Are all sun decks equal? Of just making that kind of determination. In Maryland, they do assessments every 3 years. And it's based on market value is their definition. It doesn't matter what you value our property as, because you have 2 factors in the taxation. One, you have the rate, and then you have the value. You could say that every property in Ocean View is market, and then just change the rate to get the same money. That's all. But it would really be great if, in fact, we could get rid of having a 5-year annual assessment. That is basically for 1 year, that's the not a big amount of money. You know, we're only talking, the town itself is about in the realm of a medium restaurant in gross. But those are my value determinations. Now I have one other thing that I'd like to go over with, and then I think I've done enough damage. Because it's summertime and it's time to get ready for it. When you come to a subdivision and give every subdivision the same value, you actually penalize the person with the smallest lot that lives in a hole. You actually are to the advantage of the person that has the castle on the hill. So, I have come up with a thing, and it's Delaney's magic numbers.
For the record, Mr. Walkley is introducing an exhibit called the Magic Number.
Thank you.
And you will notice that my 8250 square foot lot is $12.10 per square foot assessment. Mr. Lawless, you have legally the most interesting thing I've run into. Nowhere with your irregular lot can I find a square footage. And even some of the legal records in Georgetown, which I didn't go to, I just did a computer record search. They indicate that your lot is 0.0001 acres, the same as our attorney in Lewis. And which tells me, when they don't know the size of a lot, they have to put in a number, and that's the number they put. My figure there is based on a swag, scientific, wild, blank guess. And I came up that your lot is valued per square foot at $10.40. Mr. Donnelly, your 12,750 square foot lot is valued or assessed at $7.82 a square foot. Because you have a larger lot, you get a break away from the smaller lot. Then, Mr. Olson, you really got a break. Your 25,650 square foot lot is $5.19 per square foot. And that's because you've got a really large lot. But the magic number for your subdivision is $133,000 per lot. Now, I'm not talking about the waterfront stuff or any on canals and stuff like that. But when you look at the list, that's what's going. Now, our manager of the town, Ms. Howell, her magic number for her subdivision is $133,000. She's got a corner lot. It's 14,282 square feet. It's $9.31 per square foot. There is, when you get into this stuff of trying to just put a blank, gross number on things, you penalize the low guy and you help out the big guy. So all I'm asking is, Eric, is there a public rules and regulation of assessment for the town of Ocean View?
Mr. Walkley, you can't ask questions of him. You can ask him after he puts on his case.
Mr. Lawless, would you ask Eric if there is a published?
When you have finished your testimony, Mr. Walkley, we'll ask that question. What other questions do you have?
Well, first I'd like him to finish.
What I am here
finish his
pleading
presentation.
you to do is join with me Because I've already talked to our representative in Sussex County about the town. If in fact, when somebody comes and bitches about their assessment, and all you do is say, you gotta go to the town, or go to the county, you take it out of the town's responsibility. You can use their numbers. Like I said, all you have to do is change the assessment rate. So that's what I'm talking about. Any questions for me?
I have a couple of questions, Mr. Wafley. All right, so, I'm trying to understand the exact nature of your appeal, of your assessment appeal. So what precisely about your assessment are you objecting to?
I'm objecting to the total value.
Okay, and what are you asking the board to value your property at?
I'm asking the board to look at the information I provided, salute the flag, tighten your belt, make a decision as to whether or not what I have produced delves in the range of changing a value.
And what do you think is the proper assessed value for your property?
Somewhere between the three that I put on the form.
Okay. So my next question for you is, I'm asking you to take a look at your notice of assessment change that you have before you. Could you do that for me?
I need a credential. If you look at the form that you fill out in there.
So, Mr. Wackley, can you let me answer my questions, and then I'll give you the opportunity to say anything else you want to say. All right, so I want to look at the notice of assessment change that was sent to you by the assessor. It's dated, it's through December 31, 2022. So can we agree that your prior assessed value, which would have been through 2021, am I correct about that, Director Parks?
Yes.
Okay, your prior assessed land value was $99,800 in 2021, or I'm sorry, 2022 when the land was assessed. We did a new assessment in 2022, correct?
2021.
2021, okay, we did a new assessment in 2021. So when your land was previously assessed, we agree that your land value from this year to last year has not changed. Can we agree on that? Based on the assessed value,
The assessed value has not changed.
the assessed
The
value,
land value has changed.
I understand.
Let me tell you,
Mr. Wackley, just answer my questions and then you can speak, okay? So we agree that your assessed value for your land has not changed between 2021 and 2022. Can we agree on that? The assessed value that's stated in your notice of assessment
No.
change, it has not changed,
I
correct?
agree.
Okay,
I
And-
can't relate to that.
all right. And your assessed value for 2021 for your improvement was $365,900, correct?
Correct.
And your assessed value for 2022 was $367,500, correct? If you look on your notice of assessment, it'll state for you.
Correct.
Okay, so the difference between your 2022 assessment and your 2021 assessment was as a consequence of improvements that you made?
The papers.
Yes, okay. And that increased your change in value of your improvement based on the assessment of the assessor by $1,600, increased your
That's
assessed value by $1,600. All right, and that equated to a $3.80 change in your tax, correct?
Correct.
Okay. In 2022, did you file an assessment appeal, I'm sorry, in
I did.
2021, did you file an assessment appeal
This
with?
time of year is terrible for me. We're talking taxes.
Okay,
I'm 81 years old. I've been retired and I'm still not out of business.
okay. So, Mr. Wackley, I just want to be clear. In 2021, you did appeal your assessment from the town, okay?
I did not, I canceled the hearing.
Okay, you canceled the hearing and you told
I'm
the
here
Director of
because
Parks that the matter had been resolved, correct?
Right.
Okay. So, I have no further questions of Mr. Wackley. Does anybody on the commission?
No, I'd like to hear from our assessor.
Okay. So, Mr. Wackley, is there anything else you want to say, and, before we, I'm sorry. Do you want-
This, what about,
Louis.
the county taxes versus Ocean View? Have you been assessed yet for your county taxes?
The county is in process of,
I have problems with the fact that I'm
No, it's-
old and my hearing is not good.
Okay. Ocean View cannot change the county taxes because the county taxes are based on 1970. Ocean View has not been reassessed by the county yet.
We are in a state of turmoil. The best time to change policy is in turmoil. And in my opinion, the fact is, the town of South Bethany uses the state's numbers.
Well, this is up to,
I was too current. We bought at the same time the turmoil hit Ocean View. I'm trying to get it to where people look at the town of Ocean View positively, which means anything they could bitch about, we can point at somebody else. If you go to a county edit and say, I got a problem with my road, he says the county owns no roads. And he points at DelDOT, the HOA, or the town. If we can get this out of here, we've got one little thing to get out of the town.
So, Mr. Lawless, do you have anything else to offer about
I
your assessment?
understand, but you gotta understand, in my rationale of what I'm doing, money-wise, well, at last, when I finished business, I was at $600 an hour, but, I mean, I'm 81, and I see that some changes could be made in what you do in your assessment procedures. And I would like to solicit these three gentlemen to think about it. Curran had a great idea. His follow-to was terrible. And his omnipotence was even worse. Anybody that's from Massachusetts, I mean, I have trouble with them. Even my daughter.
All right, so Mr. Wackley.
Okay, I've rattled them.
All right. So if you don't mind, if you're done, we're going to hear from the assessor now. All right, and then after the assessor speaks, you'll have the opportunity to come back and rebut his comments.
And do I have to attend to that?
I'm sorry?
Do I have to attend that?
Well, no, it's going to be today.
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 Right now.
It's going to be right
Yeah.
now.
Oh, can I leave?
No, I mean, no, if you would like the opportunity to hear what the assessor has to say, and you would like to respond to the assessor, we would like you to sit
Oh.
down and hear.
Oh, okay.
Okay? All right, so you can go ahead and have a seat.
Time to minute up.
Mr. Walkley, would you
Yes, I am.
take your seat and let's hear from the assessor.
You want me here?
So, we're gonna, you wanna come up there, please? So at this time, we are calling Eric Piner, who is here on behalf of the assessor for the town. Are you identifying yourself as Eric Piner?
Yes.
And for whom do you work, sir?
Pearson Appraisals, excuse me, Pearson Appraisal, sir.
Okay, and Mr. Piner, do you swear and affirm to tell the truth to Board of Assessment review today?
Yes.
All right. So, Mr. Piner, could you please, number one, explain to the board how the assessment was calculated for this property?
Sure. The first thing we do before we even go out in the field and look at properties is do a sales study. And we conducted a sales study for this past reassessment from the sales from 2021, I think the latter part of 20. And then come January 1 of 22, we compared the assessed values against the sales at that point to see how we're falling as far as market value and so forth. The rates as far as additions, screen porches, decks, that sort of thing, that's all set rates. I know Mr. Walkley asked about rates varying. They're all set rates. In other words, everybody has a deck, whether you're in Wedgefield or out Tidal Walk or wherever, it's all the same before it's depreciated. But the rates are all the same for all that. They will vary on the living area because as a house gets bigger, square footage wise, it's less cost. It's like buying bulk paper towels. You know, you get each individual unit a little cheaper than buying just the one individual one. It's the same principle. Once we do our initial sales study, we go out and look in the field and start going into subdivision and plotting those sales against this, our assessed values and see how they're working out. You know, we may have to adjust them up or down depending on where they fall along those lines. The land value, I understand Mr. Walkley's point, but keep in mind this is a mass appraisal where we're painting a wide brush. You know, we're looking at multiple lots versus a fee appraisal, something where you're hiring someone from the bank to come in and look at one specific property. And I've heard both sides of the argument about the lot, and I can appreciate what he's saying. And as far as the pond lot, yes, I could see him higher. I probably would have valued him higher myself, but that one's probably low compared to the rest of them. In other words, it probably should have been more than the 99,000 if you want to make that argument. Waterfront does make a difference. It's not a big pond or nothing, but it's still water. That pretty much covers our general how we do it. If any questions, I'll be glad to on that.
So how do you come up with your respective assessed values for the land?
It's based on lot sales mainly. Sometimes you get in these older subdivisions, there's no available lots that have sold, so you go outside of the subdivision, you know, look and get an idea of what they're selling for in other subdivisions and try to use that as a basis to.
And so you use that as a comparable?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
And then how do you come up with your value for the improvement?
That's like I say, based on our sales study. What we do is create a model. We look at these sales for like a 1-story, 1.5 story, and 2-story, whether it be brick, stone, vinyl, or just cinder block. That's 3 different rates. Brick or stone being the highest. And that model creates, and we go into a subdivision, like I was saying a second ago, and plot them on the tax map, the sales, and let you look at this house sold for X amount, this 1.5 story foot sold for this amount, and get an idea. And then what I'll do is factor them. They have a grading system for houses, and then I'll go through there and comparable houses, make them all the same grade, whether it be C+ or B, being your higher quality homes, and then see how they fall against those sales at that point. And then if I'm satisfied with it, then that's where they go.
So you use sales as a comparable?
Oh yes, not one-on-ones per se like you would a fee appraisal.
Correct.
You know, where like Mr. Walkley pretty much did when that's free for. What we do is looking at a mass appraisal again. I'm looking at ones that sold in that subdivision and comparing the houses and then grading them the same way I grade the house that's sold, so that the rates come out, so the values come out similar.
Okay. And would you agree that with respect to the land value that was assessed to Mr. Walkley in 2021 was the same land value that was assessed to him in 2022?
Yes, I think if I understand you right. You mean
Yes.
from the old assessment to the
Yeah,
new
the old
assessment?
assessment, the prior assessment, and the new assessment.
Right.
The land value did not change.
I thought it did change actually when that question came up. I thought it was 75. And could you confirm?
I'm looking at the
75,000
notice,
old one.
I'm looking at the notice of assessment.
Right, and I don't have that in front of me. I got it over there, but I was
So-
looking at what Mr. Walkley put down.
So can I give you a copy of the notice of assessment?
I've got it over there. You can bring it up here.
So, Mr. Piner is reviewing the notice of assessment
you were
through
correct.
December 31. So,
That's correct.
I'm sorry, so Mr. Piner, the prior assessment and the new assessment that's being challenged, the land value did not change, correct?
Correct.
And the improvement value did change?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the basis of that change?
Mr. Rockley had a patio, and on that point, about it being so low, one reason it's so low is we valued the patio, but we don't value walkways, sidewalks. So a lot of that cost, I'm assuming, it was in the sidewalks as well. I would certainly think so. So that's one reason it looks a little low, and it is low, but I mean, not to the point where it's drastically like the 1,600 versus 10,000, I think you said it costs. Because we just don't value, if you notice throughout town, you won't see sidewalks value on the property, just the actual patio or deck, that sort of thing.
All right, so you increased his assessed value because of the patio,
Correct.
and you increased that based on the value of the patio being what figure?
No, we have, it goes back to what I was saying about this, the model when we do our sales study, the set rates. There's a set rate for patio, there's a set rate for a deck, wooden deck, for the garage. So it's the same rate throughout the town.
And what is it for a patio?
Oh, I don't have it in front of me.
So if it changed $1,600, would it be your testimony that it was, if his rate assessed value changed $1,600, would it be $1,600?
Right, yes, ma'am, for that side.
Okay. Does anybody else on?
Go ahead.
I have one question, just keeping clear assessment versus, what the house is worth or selling down the line. But going into like your patio as such, is that somewhat based upon like building permits to sit
Yes,
there
sir.
and say, okay,
Yes, sir. Based on
porch
cost.
is gonna be this and bathroom's gonna be that and whatever it may be. So those numbers are somewhat standardized.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay, as I understand it, the lot value is something that you sort of did from a 30,000-foot level, looking down, saying they're roughly the same size, and well, pick a number and it'll be
There's an old
99,000.
I've not been in appraisal school, there's old debate about a lot's a lot versus the square
Right,
footage.
okay.
The problem is a lot of times is you don't have the size, when you get down below an acre, a lot of times you don't have the square footage size of a lot. So you go in there, sometimes you'll have some, and you don't, and it kind of creates a,
Now, it's amazing, my house is on a property of .00001
Yeah.
acres, it's amazing.
yeah.
The question of how you got to the lot value, I can understand painting with a broad brush, trying to get some level of uniformity rather than trying to go individual square foot by square foot. Okay. I think that's it for me.
Mr. Walkley, do you have any questions? Mr. Walkley, do you have any questions you want to ask of Mr. Piner?
What is the basis of all decision-making except picking a number?
Say it again? I'm sorry.
I mean, if we use market value, we have to test that against it, in theory, okay?
Mr. Walkley, you cannot testify now. If you have questions of him, you can ask
Okay,
questions.
My question is, do you have a written document that can tell me the procedure you used to do your appraisal based on what information?
I don't have specifically written down, I mean, there's standards like the IAAO that we use, which is, they have it printed for our guidelines, but generally speaking, as a norm, it's based on sales. That's what
I mean, where did you come up with the number of 1,600 on my papers?
Oh, that was, like I said, determined from cost value, size of it, that sort of thing, but it is a set rate. In other words, our rate book, there's a set rate for everything. And that's based on cost, mainly cost, because it's a little hard to determine from sales. You can,
And
I'll
what-
break it down, I'm sorry.
What book did you get that out of?
What
Marshall and Swift?
Marshall and Swift, mostly. That's what I use, it's just to go with the Bible.
All right. Do you have any other questions, Mr. Walkley?
Believe it or not, we like talking to each other.
Yeah. We had a long conversation.
Okay.
It's enough stuff.
Madam Solicitor, it seems to me that the second part of the, Mr. Walkley's presentation regarding a switching of assessment to the county assessment is more properly handled by the town council. That is not a Board of Assessment issue.
Yes, I was going to get to that, and and when we're done with the testimony, we can address that. So, any further questions of the assessor? Mr. Piner, thank you for your testimony.
Can I have my papers back?
So, Mr. Walkley, I'm going to give you a few minutes. You got 3 minutes if you want to have anything else you want to say before the Board of Assessment to argue your case.
I'll let you watch. I destroyed it 10 years ago.
Do you have anything else you
When
would?
I shut my business down the month before my 65th birthday, I took the watch and put my heel to it.
Well, I'm sure many of us can't wait until then, but
No, the best thing I would like to say to the gentleman here, to please listen to what I've said and think about the future and what we can do for the town.
So, Mr. Walkley and members of the board, I want to read to you what your powers are under your powers of the board. Under Section 5-4 of the County Code, your powers are as follows. The board shall hear appeals from any property owner who alleges that his property has been improperly assessed for purposes of taxation, and following the hearing of any property owner, and in light of the facts produced at such hearing, the board shall determine whether the assessment is correct. Should the board find that the assessment is incorrect, the board shall order the assessment corrected to the adjusted amount established by the board. So, I know Mr. Walkley has disputed how the assessments are made and whether or not we should use the county value, assessed value, or the value established by Pearson. But that is not within your purview, okay? Your purview today is only to determine whether or not the assessment is fair in light of how Pearson has done the assessment and in light of the facts that you've heard today from Mr. Walkley. In addition, I would like to note that Mr. Walkley did not challenge his 2021 assessment. Okay, so really the only matter that should be before this board today is whether or not the new assessment and the change in value of his assessment is for the patio is fair and just. So with that, the board can do its deliberations. You do have to set forth, your opinion in the basis of your decision.
You have to set a number, and it's based upon the building permits. So,
I ask you make a motion that what ought we to do? Members of the board, make a motion and let's proceed.
Yes. If you have no further discussion.
I think we deliberate.
All right, so you want to deliberate and
No, I think we asked.
you have deliberated?
we have it.
Okay.
Okay, so I hear a motion.
I would, if I'm getting this correct, I would make a motion that the assessment is done fairly and equitably
And the assessment be affirmed
and be affirmed.
and the appeal denied.
Appeal denied.
Do we have a second?
I second that motion.
All right, all in
All right,
favor?
wait, before we ask that, can you please set forth your reasoning for why you wish to affirm the current?
The question that I brought up to assessment on the situation is that it is a set number based upon building permits. It would be to Mr. Watley as much as it would be to me. So all in all, it's a fair situation. It's not pointing out anything that is extraordinary. It's somewhat of standardization, and that's what I think we're all looking for, is a standardization when it comes to how much these fees and assessments are going to be.
I think we find that, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Olson.
The new assessment, after it has been revised, amounts to $1,600. Mr. Walkley agreed that that was the proper weight for his, proper value for his patio. So he's in agreement with it. I think we're in agreement, so I have to agree with the assessor.
Okay, so we're gonna make, we've got a motion, are you seconding the
I'm
motion?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the motion is, the appeal is denied.
Yes.
Thank you for your time and your service, Mr. Walkley. We appreciate the information that you provided to us. Mr. Assessor, thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
So Mr. Walkley, so your inquiry or your recommendations, that's something better put before the town council. So if you have, suggestions about ways that the assessment process should be changed, your proper foreman would be to approach your legislators.
I have copies of all that.
Okay. All right, well, thank you for your time.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second it?
I live
We are adjourned.
I live on Second Street.